If you're going to be adding more than 6 Corsair RGB fans, stick around. Today I want to talk about some of the ways and some of the pieces that you need to accomplish that goal. Whether you're upgrading an existing PC or if you're still in the process of building one and trying to spec out what pieces and components you need, I'm hoping this video will help you get a better understanding of that and make some good decisions as to what you want to use. In this video we're going to be talking about the Commander Core XT. We'll talk about the Lighting Node Pro, the Lighting Node Core, the Commander Pro, and also the Commander Core, which is the controller that comes with the Capellix AIOs. So the first method I want to talk about for getting more than 6 Corsair RGB fans connected is to use not one, but 2 Commander Core XT devices. So getting all 12 fans connected to these 2 devices is fairly straightforward. Each device makes a SATA power connection, so you need 2 of those. You're going to make that. And then each of these has a USB 9-pin header connection. Now, the Core XT does have this little pigtail expansion port on it, but only a single set of pins is connected. So this will be one of the first caveats you should be aware of using this device. Now, if you connect each of these cables into a motherboard header utilizing 2, works just fine that way. You can animate over it. So you can also connect it together. So you can connect your first one into your motherboard header and then the second one on the pigtail header. That does work just fine. So you kind of are left with this. So motherboard, pigtail, and the second Core XT. Now the only thing you should be aware of here is this second pigtail header doesn't have any signal to it because the first pigtail only has one set of pins with the signal on it. So it doesn't power this second one. So you'll get nothing out of this. A side note here while we're at it is this little pigtail extension will not power a Commander Pro. It just doesn't work. It will power one of the USB ports on it and that's it. But iCUE won't recognize it, so kind of a little bit of a limitation. But this really is such a cool device and that should be fairly easy to work around, and I don't think that's going to impact too many people, but be aware of that. Anyways, once you get those connected, you're going to go ahead and just connect up your fans. Now, if you recall from the previous video, go watch it if you haven't. The RGB hub on this, you can connect your fans in any order that you want. You can mix and match different fan types, and you get the 4-pin Pwm fan speed control connector. Make sure your PC is powered off before you connect all this up. The order of your Pwm fan speed control connections doesn't really matter here. I usually try to keep it straight though when I'm connecting this into a case, just fan 1 to connector 1, so on and so forth. But there could be a reason why you'd need to move that around. I just recommend you just keep it straight for simplicity purposes. Anyways, we're going to connect the first 6 fans to the first one here. And then I'm going to connect up these 3 8 LED fans and these 3 LED fans to the first Commander Core XT. And we're not really going to follow any specific order. As you'll see in Corsair iCUE, you can kind of rearrange the order of these fans. But we'll connect up all 6 fans here. All right, and then on the second Commander Core XT, we will go ahead and connect the 2 LL120 fans over here. I think I've got some more Corsair fans somewhere, but I'm not going to dig them out for this demonstration. I think you will get the point. And then I am going to go ahead and connect up the second Core XT to the header here. So once you've got all your connections made, we'll go ahead and power this PC back on and we'll load up iCUE. Now I do have a Commander Pro in here. I'm using that on my bench just for the USB header, so it makes it easier for me to connect into it. But I don't have anything connected to that right now, but that's why it shows up here. I've got my Commander Core XT, and this is going to be the first one that I've got connected. So let's go ahead and set up the first one. I've got 6 fans connected to this guy. And we'll just go ahead and run through the lighting setup wizard. Again, we're going to go to 4-pin lighting effects because that's what I've got selected, or that's how I've got them connected. We'll run the wizard, and again, it's going to tell you these are the ports that we're looking for. Go next, we're going to run the auto detection, and it's going to come back with all of these 8 LED fans. So after you run through the auto detection wizard, it's going to light up a light on each fan. Now you can rearrange the order of these based on how they're showing up in your case. And kind of how you want the animation to go. So in this case, we want red to be first. That's the top fan there. And then we've got a yellow and a green. That's correct. And then we've got down in the bottom, we'll go the blue one next. We need to drag the blue fan over to next in the sequence. and then we've got a purple fan, and then it looks like a white fan. And so now we've got those in order. Now in your case, you can rotate this light, and you're gonna rotate this to match which LED is on. So it looks like this one, we're gonna go there. Same with this one, we're gonna match it to that. You'll just wanna kind of orient those so it matches what's in your case. The lights on the fan won't change. That's kind of hard coded. You just wanna match the model here in iCUE to match what your fan is. And we'll go ahead and finish that. And then of course we've got cooling, and we've got all 6 fans here, and I've just got them all set to 0 RPM, but we can select whatever we want. We can control those. All right, so then we can go ahead and apply a lighting setup to those, or a lighting sequence to the 8 LED series fan. We're just gonna select plus, and we'll just do a visor here. And it should follow the order that we set the fans in, and it will just come back. Now that works properly. This is just one device by itself. Now let's go ahead and go to our other Commander Core XT, and we'll set this one up in the same way. I've got the 2 LL120 fans on there. So we'll go to 4-pin lighting setup, and then we'll run the wizard. Even though it's already showing there, this is just how you do it. So now we get the same thing. We get the 2 fans set up, and we want to orient them in which order. So we want the yellow one first, because we want to kind of come across there, and then we've got the red one last. And we'll go ahead and kind of set these LEDs to match the model. It looks like it's the bottom left. Same with the red one. So we'll just kind of change that order there. We'll finish that up. All right, so now let's come over here and we'll add a lighting link sequence. And of course we can do all of the different things here, and it works just fine across all of them. The LL120 fans are a little bright. They don't show up on the camera very well, it looks like. So let's go ahead and do the visor. So if you're finding this video helpful, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I really enjoy making it, and a like and a subscribe just helps me to know to keep doing what I'm doing and make more of this in the future. So let's talk about what I think for a lot of people is going to be the best method for getting more than 6 Corsair fans attached to this. Now this is going to be a great solution if you're just in the beginning stages of putting a PC together, or if you could stand an upgrade, and that's going to be to use the Commander Core. Now specifically, this comes with the Capellix AIOs. So if you're going to do water cooling and you're looking to upgrade, or you're just buying new components, give this a consideration. So the Commander Core is very, very similar in functionality to the Commander Core XT. Real quick, the differences are that it only has 1 temperature probe, not 2. It does not have the 3-pin RGB expansion port, and it does not have a USB expansion on it, but the Commander Core XT will power this. So you can plug the USB cable into the Commander Core XT and it runs just fine. Still needs a SATA power connection. It does have the port for your AIO components, the water block, the pump, the RGB on that. But it does give you the same 6 fan connections, Pwm, and the 4-pin RGB, and the hub works just like the Core XT. You can mix and match different types of fans on here. You don't have to put them in any particular order. And it's got the auto detection routines. And so anyways, I think the advantage to that is this comes with the AIO. So it's one less device you got to buy, and you kind of already need it. All right, so I went ahead and connected up the Commander Core in place of the 2nd Core XT. And it just shows up here as the Commander Core. And let's go ahead, and it's essentially the same setup. There's not a whole lot to really go over. So we can go into lighting setup. We can run the wizard. Again, it's the same 4 ports, or the same 4-pin ports. Go next, we'll run the auto detection, and we'll go ahead and go next. And we get the same 2 fans here. So we get the yellow and the red. Yellow is what we want, and red is in the right position. We'll go ahead and rotate these around because it looks like we're out of orientation here, and we'll finish that up. And for cooling, we get the 2 fans, and again, you do get 1 temperature probe with it. Go down, we got to go to lighting link. We're going to come down here to visor. It should start up in the top, come down across, and then bounce all the way back. Perfect, that looks great. But you can go ahead and apply all of the other sequences to this. You can control these two independently, or you've got tons of lighting link solutions. All right, so let's talk about some additional ways in which you can get more than 6 fans connected to Corsair iCUE. The first thing you can consider is using a Lighting Node Pro. Now this device comes with the 6-port RGB fan hub, and this device, this setup here, still comes with the LL120 fan kits. Might come with a couple of others, but I believe it's still shipping with that. The more recent fan kit I bought came with the Lighting Node Core, which is essentially the same setup, but we'll talk about that more in just a minute. Now, there's a couple of limitations to this. The first being is that you get no PWM fan control, so there's no power or speed control with this. You've got to find a home for those connections. We've talked about some of this in previous videos, but it's just worth noting again when we're talking about the subject of getting more than 6 fans attached. If you choose to use some of these solutions, you've got to find a place for those PWM connections, either your motherboard, an external PWM hub. We'll talk about this solution in just a second, where you can, put a splitter into one of the ports like on the Core XT. Although, I wouldn't recommend doing that maybe for, if you're going to do the full 12 fans. So, in a lot of cases, this is a great solution if you need to add maybe just a few additional fans on top of a Core XT. Maybe you need only 7 or 8 fans and you're okay with sacrificing some of the, speed control, but you really need the RGB setup for it. Another limitation of it is you really can't mix and match fans. You really need to connect the same type of fan to this. You do need to put them in order. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You really can't skip any of the ports. It'll not light up anything down the line. So if you just put one in port 1 and one in port 3, port 3 is not going to light up because it's kind of daisy chained together. So this device connects up by connecting to a SATA power plug, which powers this unit and the RGB lighting on it. And then you're going to get this 3-pin Corsair cable connecting to it. And that cable is going to connect into the Lighting Node Pro. You get 2 channels on the Lighting Node Pro, so you could connect 2 of these. You could actually get 12 fans connected that way, 2 6-port fan hubs. Or you can connect this to a Core XT device or a Commander Pro. It does not connect up to the Commander Core because there is no RGB expansion port on that. So anyways, that's a great way to get some additional connectivity using this device. So anyways, if this is a device you already have and you can live without some PWM controller, you've got an external hub, there's some solutions where this makes a lot of sense. The Lighting Node Core is essentially just the same device, but it's all just contained in the same unit. Now you'll have all the same limitations here. You get no PWM speed control with the Lighting Node Core, and you will have to put the fans in order, and you really can't mix and match. Now the Lighting Node Core does not have the 3-pin RGB header cable, so you can't connect this into a Core XT or a Pro or even a Commander or a Lighting Node Pro. So basically this is just going to show up in iCUE as its own device. Essentially, these are all relatively simple to get connected and get additional connectivity, or you could double up on these. You can do 2 of the Lighting Node Core, and using any of these other methods, your basic consideration is going to be PWM speed control. So I've plugged in 3 fans to a splitter on the Core XT, and that seems to work fine. I've ran 3 on it, no problem. It powers it just fine. The only downside to using these splitters is you then lose the ability to control all 3 fans separately. You're going to control them just all as a single unit. You'll get RPM feedback off just one of the connectors, and you can just control all 3 together. But I would say in the majority of setups, that's going to be a sacrifice that's all right. Same with some external PWM controllers. You really just all the fans on that are going to be just controlled as a single unit. You'll get RPM feedback usually just off the first port, and then you can put a curve off of just that one. So I think some of these solutions are really good, say if you just need 7 or 8 fans, but really the Commander Pro and honestly the Commander Core XT and the Commander Core, those are really the best devices to do more than 6 fans. Let's go ahead and take a look just real quick at how this looks in Core iCUE. We'll just connect a couple of additional fans to the Core XT and into the hub here. I've got my two LL120 fans already powered up, and I've got this already connected, and there is no USB connection if you're just using the hub. It just basically gets its signal from the Core XT. So go into port 1 and port 2. And then in Corsair iCUE, we're just going to come to the Commander Core. We're going to open that up, and then we're going to come to the 3-pin lighting effects, and we're going to go to lighting setup. Basically, you're just going to tell it, you know, what type of fan you have out there. So we've got LL RGB series fans and how many you have, and we have 2. There is a wizard that you can run here, but there really is no, you know, it just kind of tells you which port you're connected to. Next, you're basically just telling it the same stuff. It's just kind of walking you through it. So, you know, 2 fans. And then of course you can tell it which fan is first and second on here. You know, RGB port 1, RGB port 2. Yellow is going to be first and red is going to be the last fan, and we'll just finish that. And then we can go here to lighting effects, and we can, you know, just set it to these 2 fans only. It works fine. So let's go ahead and do the lighting link. We'll check visor and see how that functions here. And perfect. Visor works good with that setup. All right, so anyways, that's a great way to do it. Let's go ahead and we'll talk about the Lighting Node Core. Again, this really has all the limitations that the Lighting Node Pro and the 6-port RGB hub does. But basically, you're going to make your USB connection for that. And we can use the pigtail extender. And iCUE will just simply recognize that as soon as you plug it in. And it's going to see the Lighting Node Core. So let's go ahead and take these same LL120 fans, and we'll plug them in over here. Port 1, port 2. And we'll go ahead and tell it. You have to tell it which fans you got. LL RGB. We've got 2 fans, and we'll go ahead and make sure they're in order. We've got the yellow one first. We need to rearrange those. All right, so we'll go to lighting channel 1. Let's try the visor function here and see if it works. All right, so I had to go in and correct that. I still had the 3-pin lighting effects set up on the Core XT. I had to go remove that, and now the visor function works better, but you can see that it's kind of out of order. So this will be a consideration that you'll need to make, like if this is in your case. Now, one thing I've seen requested of Corsair is to change the order of these devices up here at the top, like kind of how it runs through that. So you'll need to be mindful of this when you're setting your case up. Like, you know, the LL120 fans on the Lighting Node Core go first. That's like the first part of this sequence. And there's no way at this point, as far as I'm aware, to reorder these devices. Now, I was able to manipulate the order by plugging them in at different times. So I kind of changed how I plugged them into the USB. I plugged in the Lighting Node Core first, followed by the Commander Core XT. And I was able to flip the order around, but visor is still messed up here. It's not messed up, it's just out of order. So it just doesn't fire with the way that I have my setup. So you'll need to be aware of that, I think, when you're setting this up, which order your fans are going to go. Now, most of the sequences don't really matter. You know, if you're going lighting link and you're just doing like watercolor or, you know, color pulse, none of these really matter what order the fan is in. You know, rain, all of these. The only one that really matters that I'm aware of is visor. And, you know, just the way that fires there, it's actually correct, but it's just out of order physically. So you would just have to have the order correct. To the extent possible, you know, I would recommend that you maybe before you tie up all your wires and tidy everything up, test this really quick and make sure it's firing in the order that you want. And I think this has to do with just kind of, as I've mentioned it before, kind of how the device IDs, the hierarchy of these are. And I would really like it if Corsair would allow you to change this on a bigger level as to which order, which device, and which channel fired. So maybe that's some improvements that Corsair can do down the road. All right, well, there you have it. There's a number of different ways in which you can get more than 6 Corsair RGB fans connected and get control through the Corsair iCUE software. Now, it can be a little daunting at first, just only because there's a number of different devices and a multitude of different ways you can connect all of this. I think probably where I would start is, give careful thought to what your PWM fan speed control needs are. If you really like that individual level of detail or customization over those fans, then really you're going to be looking at the Core XT or the Commander Core. The older device is the Commander Pro. It still has its place in the world, and it will give you that level of control as well. The downside to that is you do need to connect up a hub, which is another device. But if you don't need that level of control over those fans, and you say got a great, awesome external PWM controller that you like, or you've got enough motherboard ports and you're happy with that, or if there's some budget considerations where you've already got some of these devices floating around and you just need to make it work, then yeah, definitely the Lighting Node Pro with the hubs and the Lighting Node Core, which is the newer device of that. Those work perfect. That gives you great RGB control, no issues there. And I think for the majority of people, to me, the best setup is the Commander Core XT and doing AIO with the Commander Core. That's really, I think, an effective solution only because it already comes with that device. Short of that, 2 Commander Core XTs is a great solution. If you really just need 6 or 7 or 8 fans, a Core XT with one of the little cheap hubs, and then use a splitter to get some of the additional PWM control. That's probably a good solution too for those of you that just need 1 or 2 extra fans. Anyways, it's impossible to go over everybody's individual use case and every possible scenario in which you can connect this, but we'll keep trying here. I'll put affiliate links to all of these products in the description below. You can check them out. And if you have any questions, comments, if I can help in any way, please let me know. I get to those to the best of my availability and when I can get to them, and I'm happy to help out. So that is going to do it for today. Thanks for watching.